Excellency the Chancellor.
I was thinking.
Oh, never, Your Majesty, was greater the need for thought than now.
That's what I was thinking. Well, what is it? More trouble?
Oh, what we might call the old trouble, Your Majesty.
It's like I was saying to the Queen last night. Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown, was how I put it.
A profound and original thought, Your Majesty, which may well go down to posterity.
You mean it may go down well with posterity? I sure hope so. It's like another thing I told the Queen. Something about a fierce lion beating on a throne. Well, what is it?
Oh, it is in the matter of Her Royal Highness's wedding.
Oh, yes.
Well, as Your Majesty is aware, the young Prince Simon arrives today to seek Her Royal Highness's hand in marriage, and as I understand, he has not...
You mean he has not heard anything?
It is a little difficult to put this tactfully, Your Majesty.
Do your best, and I will tell you how you got on afterward.
Let me put it this way. The Prince Simon will naturally assume that Her Royal Highness has the customary. So customary as to be, in my poor and slightly monotonous opinion, what one might call the inevitable. So inevitable as to be, in my poor opinion, again, what we might call almost mechanical. We'll assume she has the, as I like to think of it, faultily faultless, icily regular.
What you are trying to say in the fewest words possible is that my daughter isn't beautiful.
Her beauty is certainly elusive, Your Majesty.
It is! It has eluded you. It has eluded me. It's eluded everyone who's seen her. It's even eluded the court painter whose last words were, "Well, I did my best." His successor is now painting the view from the west turret. His doctor advised him to keep the landscaping.
It is unfortunate, Your Majesty, but there it is. One just cannot understand how it can have occurred.
You don't detect a likeness, do you?
Most certainly not, Your Majesty.
Good. Your predecessor did.
I've often wondered what happened to my predecessor.
Well, now you know.
Looking on the bright side, although Her Royal Highness is not, strictly speaking, beautiful,
Not truthfully speaking beautiful.
yet she has great beauty of character.
We are not considering Her Royal Highness's character, but her chances of getting married. You observe that there's a distinction.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Of course, that doesn't alter the fact that Prince Camilla is quite the nicest person in the kingdom.
Indeed, yes, Your Majesty, with the exception, I need hardly say, of Your Majesty and Her Majesty.
Your exceptions are tolerated for their loyalty, but condemned for their extreme fatuity.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Now, as an adjective for the king, the word nice is ill-chosen. As an adjective for the queen, is it ill-chosen?
Talking about Camilla?
As always, my dear, you're right.
This fellow, Simon, what's he like?
Oh, nobody has seen him, Your Majesty.
How old is he?
25, I understand.
In 25 years, he must have been seen by somebody.
Only a fleeting glimpse.
I meant, Your Majesty, that no detailed report of him has reached this kingdom, save that he has the usual personal advantages and qualities. Majesty, but as I was venturing to say to His Majesty, her royal characters, her character and disposition are so
Stuff and
outstanding.
nonsense. You remember what happened at the Tournament of Love last year?
I was not myself present, Your Majesty.
No?
I had not then the honor of it. I was abroad, and I never heard the full story.
Oh, was the other fool.
Oh.
It was the first time they had ever laid eyes on Camilla. The princes rode up to pay homage to her. The heralds blew their trumpets and announced that she would marry whichever one was left master of the field when all but one had been unhorsed. They blew their trumpets again, and the princes charged enthusiastically into the fight. And will you stop that?
I'm sorry, my dear.
And what happened next? They all simultaneously fell off of their horses and assumed the posture of defeat.
But one of them was not as quick as the others. I was very quick and proclaimed him the victor.
At the feast of betrothal held that night,
We were all very quick.
the chancellor announced that by the laws of the country, the successful suitor had to pass a further test. He had to give the correct answer to a riddle.
Oh, such undoubtedly is the fact, Your Majesty.
There are times for announcing facts and times for looking at things in a broad-minded way. Please remember that, Chancellor.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I invented the riddle myself. Quite an easy one. What is it which has 4 legs and barks like a dog?
Oh, it is a...
A dog.
You see that?
Yes, Your Majesty.
It isn't that difficult.
He seemed to find it so. First, he said an eagle, then a serpent, then a very tall mountain with slippery sides, 2 peacocks, the day after tomorrow, a moonlit night.
No one could accuse him of not trying.
I did.
I should have said that no one could fail to recognize in his attitude an appearance of doggedness.
Finally, he said death. I nudged the king.
Accepting the word nudge for the moment, I rubbed my ankle with one hand and patted him on the back with the other and congratulated him on the correct answer. He disappeared under the moat and, frankly, we never saw him again.
His body was found next morning in the moat.
But what, Your Majesty, was he doing in the moat?
Bobbing about. Try not to ask needless questions.
Don't seem so strange.
What does?
Oh, that Her Royal Highness, alone of all the princesses one has ever heard of, should lack that invariable attribute of royalty. Supreme beauty.
That was your great Aunt Malkin. You were at the christening. You know what she said.
It was cryptic. Great Aunt Malkin's besetting weakness. She was 101 then, and that was 51 years ago. How old would that make her, Chancellor?
Oh, come again?
How old would that make her?
Oh, 152, Your Majesty.
About that, yes. She promised me that I should have all the happiness which my wife deserved. Of course, it struck me at the time, well, when I say at the time, I was only a week old, but it did strike me as soon as anything could strike me of that manner. Well, Chancellor, figure it out for yourself. It opens up a most amazing field of speculation that I've, of course, not wanted to go into detail at all with Her Majesty.
I have never heard anything less cryptic. She was wishing you extreme happiness.
I don't think she was wishing me anything. However,
But, Your Majesty, what was it what she asked?
Her other godmother, on my side, wished her the extreme beauty for which all the women in my family are famous.
Oh, yes, Your Majesty.
And what is it that great Aunt Malkin said?
I give you with a kiss a wedding day surprise, where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. I thought the last 2 lines rather neat, but what they meant...
We can all see what it meant. She was given beauty, and where is it? Your great Aunt Malkin took it away from her. The wedding day surprise that there will never be a wedding day.
My dear, young men being what they are today, it would be more surprising if there were a wedding day.
Helen, darling. Oh, I say, affairs of the state, I'm sorry.
Don't go, Camilla.
Shall I withdraw, your majesty?
You are aware, Camilla, that Prince Simon arrives today.
He has arrived. They're just now letting down the drawbridge.
Arrived? Oh, I must...
Darling, you know what that drawbridge is like. It takes at least half an hour to let it down.
It wants oil. Have you been grudging it oil?
It wants a new drawbridge, darling.
Have I your majesty's permission?
Yes, yes.
You've told him, of course.
No. I was going to.
Then I'd better. You can tell the girl. I'll have her sent to you. You've told Camilla?
No. I was going to.
Then you'd better tell her now.
My dear, are you sure?
It's our only chance. Oh, my daughter! Oh.
Camilla, I want to talk to you seriously about marriage.
Yes, Father?
It is time that you learn some of the facts of life.
Yes, Father?
It's the thing that when you get married, it doesn't matter how or to whom, just as long as you get married. Do you follow me so far?
Yes, Father.
Well, your mother and I have a little plan.
Was that it, going out the door just now?
Yes, it concerns your waiting maid.
Darling, I have several.
Well, only one that leaps to the eye, so to speak. The one with everything.
Dulcibella.
That's the one. It is our plan that at first meet she should pass herself off as the princess, a harmless ruse which is frequently recorded in the history books, and allure Prince Simon to his, that is to say, bring him up to the, well, the wedding will take place immediately afterwards, in view of the fact that your great Aunt Malkin is 152 and that you'll be wearing the family bridal veil, which is of course how the custom arose. The surprise after the ceremony will be his. Do you follow me? Your attention seems to be wandering.
I was wondering why you needed to tell me.
In case you ran into the prince or his attendant, in which case you will pass yourself off as the maid.
A harmless ruse of which you'll find frequent record in the history books?
Exactly. But the need not arise.
The woman Dulcibella!
Ah, Camilla, you will retire to your apartment. I will come and get you as soon as we are ready for the actual ceremony. Hang on, dear. I might need that. Come in. Now, don't be frightened. There's nothing to be frightened about. Has Her Majesty told you what you are to do?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Well, let's see how well you can do it. You are sitting here, we will say. Now, imagine that I am the most handsome Prince Simon. This is a serious moment in your life. You will find giggling not helpful. You are the beautiful Princess Camilla, whom he's never seen before. Remember what I said about giggling. I am announced. His Royal Highnesses, Prince Simon. Giggling. You should have a faraway look upon your face. Farther than that, that's too far. You should be thinking fancy thoughts in maiden meditation. Never mind. Now I advance and fall upon one knee. And you are to, as it were, graciously extend your hand. Oh! Not hitting him in the face. Graciously. Much better. Now I will raise your hand to my lips and kiss it. Well, perhaps not so ardently as that. More like this. And he will say something along the lines of, "Your Royal Highness, this is the most..." No, that's not it. "Your Royal Highness, your beauty is..." No, that's not it either. "Your Royal Highness, I shall ever be..." Well, the point is that he will say it, and it will be something complimentary. And you should say something along the lines of, "Oh, Prince Simon." Say it.
Oh, Prince Simon!
Not yelling until he says what 2 or 3 times. Now, always let the words have a dying fall. Let them flutter around in his head like a flock of doves.
Oh, Prince Simon!
Remember flock of doves, rather than a flight of panic-stricken elephants. And you'll do all right. Now I am to get up, and you are to waft me to a seat beside yours. Oh! Not rescuing a drowning man. That's all right in certain circumstances, but not at this moment. Waft. Prince Simon will put in the necessary muscles. All you are required to do is indicate with gracious movement where he is to sit. Much better. Well, here we are. I think you give me a look. Something between the breathless adoration of a nun and the voluptuous abandonment of the woman of the world, mixed as it were with an undertone of regal dignity and a hint of good comradeship. No, that doesn't quite get it. There's just a little something missing. Everything that I asked for. Let's try this another way. Dulcibella, do you have a young man of your own?
Oh, yes, he's ever so smart. He's an archer. Well, not as you might say a real archer. He works in the armory, but old Bob knows, you know who I mean. The captain of the guard says the next man they ever has to shoot, my egg shall take his place. Knowing father and how it is with Egg and me being made to her Royal Highness and can't marry me till he's a real prince. Oh, but ever so smart and funny. Oh, like the things he says. I said to him once, Egg,
Dulcibella, let's see to it that when thinking of egg, say as little as possible, and when you are thinking of egg, make sure that the mouth is no more than partially open, and you'll do all right. Just remember to waft, not hoik.
are you, and how did you get here?
Well, it's rather a long story. Don't we sit down first? You can sit here if you like. Only, it isn't very comfortable.
It's the king's throne.
Is that what it is?
Those are not meant to be comfortable.
I don't know if they're meant to be, but they certainly aren't.
Who are you, and why were you sitting in the king's throne?
My name is Carlo.
Mine is Dulcibella.
Good. Now couldn't we sit down?
You may sit here if you would like. Why are you so tired?
I've been taking very strenuous exercise.
Is that part of the long story?
It is.
I love stories.
Well, this isn't a story, really. You see, I'm attendant on Princess Simon, who's visiting here.
Oh, I'm attendant on Her Royal Highness.
Do you know what he's here for?
Yes.
It's very beautiful, I hear.
Did you hear that? Where have you been lately?
Traveling in distant lands with Prince Simon.
Ah. All the same, I do not understand. Is the drawbridge down yet? It can't be.
Don't suppose it is. And what a noise it makes coming down.
Isn't it terrible?
Couldn't stand it anymore. Just had to get away. That's why I'm here.
But how?
Well, there's only one way, isn't there? That beech tree. And a swing! And a grab to the battlements! Don't ask me to remember it all.
You mean you came across the moat by that beech tree?
Yes. I'm so tired of hanging about.
But it's terribly dangerous.
That's why I'm so exhausted. Nervous shock. Oh.
Of course, it's different for me.
Say that again. I must have got it wrong.
Oh, I mean, it's different for me because I'm used to it. Besides, I'm ever so much lighter.
You don't mean that you...
Oh, yes, often.
I thought I was a brave man. At least, I didn't until 5 minutes ago. Now I don't again.
Oh, but you are brave, and I think it great to do it straight off the first time.
Well, you did.
Oh, no, not the first time, when I was a child.
You mean that you crashed?
Well, you only fall into the moat.
Only? Can you swim?
Of course.
So you swam to the castle walls and yelled for help, and they fished your own wolves you. And next day you tried again. Well, now that is pluck.
Of course I didn't. I swam right back and did it again. Well, I mean, I tried again. It wasn't until the third time that I actually did it. You see, I was afraid I might lose my nerve.
Afraid she might lose her nerve.
There's a way of getting from this side as well. A tree goes out of the wall and you jump into another tree, and I don't think it's quite so easy.
Not quite so easy. Good, you must show me.
Oh, I will.
Perhaps it might be as well if you taught me how to swim first. I've often heard about swimming, but I've never...
You can't swim?
No. Don't look so surprised. There are lots of things which I can't do. I'll tell you all about them as soon as you have a couple of years to spare.
You can't swim, yet you came across by the beach, and you're ever so much heavier than I am. How is brave?
You keep talking about how light you are. I must see if there's anything in it. Stand up. You're right, Dulcibella. I could hold you here forever. You're very lovely.
Yes.
Why do you laugh?
Aren't you tired of holding me?
Well, frankly, yes. I exaggerated when I said I could hold you forever. You've been hanging by the arms for 10 minutes. We're very deep moat, wondering if it's too late to learn how to swim. What I meant was I should like to hold you forever. Why did you laugh?
Well, that's a private little joke of mine.
Well, if it comes to that, I've got a private joke too. Let's exchange them.
Mine's very private. Only one other woman in the whole world knows, and that's all.
Mine's just as private. One other man knows, and that's all.
All right, what fun. Here's mine. When I was born, one of my godmothers said that I should be very beautiful.
All right, she was.
And the other one said this: I give you with this kiss a wedding day surprise, where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. And nobody knew what she meant. And I grew up very plain. But then, when I was 10, I met my godmother in the forest one day. It was my 10th birthday. Nobody knows this except you.
Except us.
Except us. And she told me what her gift meant. It meant that I was beautiful, but that everyone else was to go on being ignorant, thinking me plain, until my wedding day. Because she said she didn't want me growing up to be spoilt or willful or vain, as I would have done if everyone was always telling me how beautiful I was. And she said the best thing in the world was to be quite sure of yourself and not to rely on others to affirm you. So ever since then, my mirror tells me I'm beautiful, and everyone else goes on thinking me ugly, and I get a lot of fun out of it.
Well, seeing that Dulcibella is the result, I can only say that your godmother was very, very wise.
Now tell me your secret.
Isn't such a pretty one. You see, Prince Simon was going to woo the Princess Camilla, and he heard that she was beautiful and haughty and imperious. All you would have been if your godmother hadn't been so wise. Being a very ordinary-looking fellow himself, he was afraid she wouldn't think much of him. So he suggested to one of his attendants, a man named Carlo, of extremely attractive appearance, that he should pretend to be the prince and win the princess's hand. The last moment, they would change
How would
places.
they do that?
The prince was step in married in full armor, with his visor down.
Oh, what fun!
Neat, isn't it?
Oh, what very, very.
Neat, but not so terribly funny. Why do you keep laughing?
That's another little joke. Come on.
Well, if it comes to that, I've got another one up my sleeve. Shall we exchange again?
All right, but you go first this time.
Very well. I am not Carlo. I am Simon! Ow!
What is it?
Cramp. I was saying that I was Prince Simon.
Shall I rub it for you?
I'm Simon.
Is that better?
I'm Simon.
I know.
How did you know?
Well, you told me.
But oughtn't you to swoon or something?
Why? History records many similar ruses.
Is that so? Never read history. I thought I was being profoundly original.
Oh, no. Now here's my secret. For reasons very much like yourself, the princess, who is held to be very plain, feared to meet Prince Simon. Is the drawbridge down yet?
Dear people give a faint, surprised cheer every time he gets down.
Naturally.
They came down about 3 minutes ago.
Ah, then at this very moment, your man, Carlo, is confessing his passionate love to my maid, Dulcibella. That I find rather funny. By the way, Dulcibella is in love with a man she calls Egg. So I hope Carlo isn't getting carried away.
Carlo is married to a girl he calls the little woman. So Egg has nothing to fear.
By the way, I don't know if you heard, but I said, or as good as said, that I am the Princess Camilla.
I wasn't surprised. History, of which I read a great deal, records many similar reasons.
Simon!
Camilla! May I try holding you again? Sweetheart.
You see, when you held me earlier, you said you were lovely. And my godmother said the first man to whom I would seem lovely was the man I should marry. So I knew you were Simon and that I should marry you.
And you directly saw you that I should marry you, even if you were Dulcibella. By the way, which of you am I marrying?
When she lifts her veil, it'll be Camilla. Until then, it will be Dulcibella.
Then goodbye, Camilla, until you lift your veil.
Goodbye, Simon, until you raise your eyes.
Oh, careful!
Who and what is this? More accurately, who and what are all these?
My attendant Carlo, Your Majesty. He will, with Your Majesty's permission, prepare you for the ceremony.
Ah, yes, yes.
Your maid, Dulcibella, is it not, my love? I thought so. She will assist Her Royal Highness.
I beg pardon, Your Majesty, if I've done wrong, but I found the gentleman wandering.
Quite all right, my dear. Quite all right. We pulled it off. Have I Your Majesty's permission to put the final test to His Royal Highness?
Is this safe?
Yes. I told him the answer a few minutes ago. Remember, dog. Proceed, Your Excellency. It is in the utmost concern that the affairs of my state should be conducted ever constitutionally. By the Constitution of the country
A suitor to a Royal Highness's hand cannot be deemed successful until he has given the correct answer to a riddle. The last suitor failed to answer correctly and thus failed to win his bride.
By a coincidence, he was found bobbing in the moat.
I have now to ask you if you are prepared for the ordeal.
Absolutely.
I may mention as a matter of interest to our visitor that according to the Constitution of the country, the same riddle cannot be asked on 2 successive occasions.
What's that?
I may mention as a matter of interest that this particular riddle was composed about a century ago, and we must take it as a fortunate omen that it was well and truly solved.
I may want my sword directly.
The riddle is this. What is it which has 4 legs and mews like a cat?
A dog!
Bravo, bravo, yes, yes, yes.
Oh, according to the records of the occasion to which I refer, the answer would not seem to be a dog.
How about
but-
Your Majesty's permission to speak? Naturally, His Royal Highness cannot think of justifying himself on such an occasion. But I think that Your Majesty's gracious permission, I could.
Yes, of course.
In our country, we have an animal to which we have given the name dog, or in the local dialects of the more mountainous districts, doggy. It sits by the fireside and purrs.
Purrs like anything.
When it needs milk, which is its staple food, it mews.
Use like nobody's business.
It also
What are you corner?
So in one country, in some countries I understand, this animal is called a cat. Indeed, in one distant country to which His Royal Highness and I penetrated, it's called by the very curious name of hippopotamus.
That's right. Do you remember that ginger-coloured hippopotamus which used to jump on my shoulder and lick my ear?
So you see, Your Majesty,
Yes, thank you. I think that makes it perfectly clear. Perfectly clear.
Yes, Your Majesty. May I be the first to congratulate His Royal Highness on solving the riddle so accurately?
You may be the first to see that all is in order for an immediate wedding.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Doubtless, Prince Simon, you will wish to retire and prepare yourself for the ceremony.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
by Your Majesty's permission to attend His Royal Highness, it is the custom for princes of the royal blood in his country to be married in full armor, a matter which requires a certain adjustment.
Yes, of course. Young man, you have a certain quality of quickness which I admire. I'll be sure to reward it to you in any way it commends itself.
Your Majesty is ever gracious. May I ask for my reward after the ceremony?
Yes, yes. Now, young woman, make yourself scarce. You have done an excellent job, and we will be sure that you and your... What was his name?
Egg, Your Majesty.
That you and your egg are not forgotten.
Phew!
Wait for me, Dulcibella.
Well, my dear, we may congratulate ourselves. It's like I said once, you're not losing a daughter, but gaining a son. How does he strike you?
Stupid.
Well, I thought they made a very handsome pair, he and Dulcibella.
Both stupid.
I said nothing about stupidity. What I said was that they made a very handsome pair. And that's all that matters. Or is it?
What did you think of Prince Simon, Camilla?
I adore him. We shall be so happy together.
Well, of course you will. I told you so. Happy ever after.
Run along and get ready now.
My dear, there's something different about Camilla. She seemed not so normal as usual just now.
Just the excitement of the wedding.
Ah, that would explain it.